Back in June, for a couple of weeks, I was in Tofino. And in those first couple of days of my trip, I took a kayak trip, just like a day trip, to Mears Island, which is just off of Tofino. I'm sure some of you have been there. The trees on Mears Island are quite remarkable. Our tour guide told us that one of them that we encountered when we had a little break there is as much as 800, even 1,000 years old. So you can just imagine how giant it was, 1,000-year-old tree. And this tour guide also told us a bit of a story about the proposed logging of Mears Island that was meant to happen in the 1980s, particularly in 1984. According to Joanna Streetley, in 1984, rising up from the ocean, Mears Island and its lush ancient rainforest forms the gateway to Clayoquot Sound. Mears is one of only 2 large islands on the west coast of Vancouver Island, with its ancient rainforest still intact. Only 1% of Mears Island's rainforest has been logged. In 1984, First Nations and Friends of Clayoquot Sound blockaded to prevent logging on the island. This was the first logging blockade in Canadian history, and it was one of the biggest. In 1985, the Clayoquot and Ahusat First Nations obtained an injunction preventing further logging on Mears Island, and that injunction remains in place today. This is when, if you want to go up here. We don't have a screen, so I can't show you up high. So if you just want to kind of pass around, you can kind of go this way. If you want to pass around, because this will help you for what we're about to hear. The pictures that's going to come around, if you guys can go, this way, please, is of Weeping Cedar Woman. She now stands kind of overlooking the village green in downtown Tofino. Next time you're there, I hope you'll go see her if you aren't familiar. She's very, very tall. You could probably even Google, if you have a phone, to find Weeping Cedar Woman. And I found her very inspiring when I was there, especially when I sort of met her just after I had been to Mears Island and started to hear her story. She was carved in 1984 by Godfrey Stevens locally to support the protests. So you're going to hear his voice. That's whose voice you're about to hear. Talking a little bit about the restoration project in 2014. Weeping Cedar Woman has been in a few different places, but she was sort of installed in, as you see in the picture, in Tofino 11 years ago, on the 30th anniversary of those protests. So here's Godfrey.
Leave them alone. They're finding where they are. And this hand says, stop. And that hand is pointing to the earth, and these tears, they speak for themselves. And that's the only way I can say it. What we need is to refurbish this, and that's happening right now, and repatriate her to Tofino, to be mounted on permanent plinths of stones and cement with big bolts in the ground and a ground flat, and call her a day.
So you'll see as those pictures, you can kind of keep the pictures kind of moving around just so you can see her. And as he described, there's an art walk thing that you can get audio. And so I was sitting on a bench just next to her, listening to him, Godfrey, talk about his sculpture. And when I was inspired by her. So she's my new hero, Weeping Cedar Woman. One of the prophets, I think, of the time embodies some of the important things about prophets. Her right hand is saying, stop, stop the logging. And her left arm is pointing to the earth. Remember the earth, she says. And to me, the most important part, I'm sure there's other things too, but you can see when you see the picture, she is weeping rivers of tears. And as I sat on that bench and listened to him talk more about carving her and stuff, he said, the rivers of her tears from her eyes are holding her up. And I thought it was a beautiful image and a beautiful idea that our tears, the tears coming, hold us up. That the weeping is strength and not weakness, particularly in the prophetic tradition. A little more about the history of the place and what has happened since within Mears Island. They created something called the Clayoquot Tribal Parks, located in Clayoquot Sound in the west coast of Vancouver Island. The chief, Councillor Moses Martin, declared the first tribal park in 1984 to prevent the clear-cut logging of the ancient rainforests. The Clayoquot activists at that time successfully combined legal action, peaceful blockades, and Indigenous governance to defend the rainforests of Mears Island, setting important precedents for conservation and for Indigenous rights in Canada. Since 1984, the Clayoquot leadership have expanded the tribal parks designation to encompass all of the traditional territory, integrating Indigenous laws and practices to manage and restore the land. The tribal parks are governed by get this, 500-year stewardship plan, emphasizing ecological restoration, sustainable livelihoods, and community development. The parks are a testament to Clayoquot's ongoing commitment to protect the land and waters for future generations, ensuring that their cultural and ecological heritage remains intact. This organization, the Clayoquot Tribal Parks, again, you can Google that. I can show you the spelling because it's a bit different. You can Google that and find out more information about this organization, which continues to run and is a testament to what can happen when the First Nations and the settler community work together. That's one of the features of the story, is the working together of different communities. And the way in which the organization and the tribal parks and the Clayoquot are working with the business community and the other civic settler leadership in Tofino area for the sake of everybody. I think it's a story of hope and of what can be accomplished when we work together. All that comes together for me in the prophetic presence of Weeping Cedar Woman, a prophet and activist showing us Indigenous wisdom and ecological consciousness for our future.